is why I tell guys like David Benavidez, build your brand. Clarissa Shield is getting her movie deals and opportunities. And all we tell everybody is build your brand. And what is your brand? Your brand is you not doing the thing you do. That's when you got a brand secure. When you take your gloves off, or you take your cleats off, or when you take your golf clubs out of your hand, and that 2 years pass that you had that money and it's gone, what do you have then? If you're nothing outside of what you did, you don't have a brand. You got to have the ground beneath your feet. You got to understand how this game works. So myself is the key is for me is I want to see these guys understand boxing is 360 degrees, but everybody only sees 1/10 of this game. Punching each other. Uh, Fight like a Mexican. Fight in the Philly shell. Fight in the peekaboo. Fight, fight, fight. I don't remember anybody after the 25-year mark still being in the game of boxing doing that shit, right? But I do know that people who invest their times, invest their wisdom, and bringing people in that can actually further them along and them getting educated on how to operate their careers is a pretty big deal. And that's the key that I had to find the lane in this sport that no one was touching, and nobody wants to touch it. And I want the people to see when that's why when I see a fight, I see a matchup, I see more than most people when they're talking about the fight. Because at the end of the day, you really can't pick the fight because you don't know what else is going on in that fighter's life. And a lot of times, a fighter will uh, be convinced not to bring his A game, and I'll leave it at that. And sometimes there are other things that are incentivizing a fighter to win. When you go back to Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson, there's this other spirit that he brought into the ring. There are so many other denominators inside of boxing that don't relate a skill. And that's what I do. I open you guys' eyes to those things so that when you go into these channels and you're just listening to these guys just talking about left hooks and southpaws, bending your knees and good technique and who he fought, and I'm looking at this thing from a limousine because the limousine's on the way to the airport and the airport's on the way in the air, and I'm looking down at the entire game, 360 degrees. The politics of the game, the business of the game, the brand building of the game, the understanding of the skill set. See, what we had to do is create a company that had a vertical and brought all of those components to it. And so when I look at these fighters, I see more than just what they have to do on the night of the fight, because I see so many holes on the outside of that ring that the fighters are dealing with. No one knows Morel. Good fighter, great pedigree, super duper power, very smooth with his boxing, crisp and clean, no caffeine. Absolutely no qualms. The only thing I want these guys to pay attention to, as well as winning fights and titles, is are you winning titles outside of that ring? One way to do that is take a page out of the book of people like Muhammad Ali, where during his time where he could not fight, he was going around the college campuses, being in circles and speaking to the young. And when you can talk to a different generation of fighters, I mean, a different generation of people that don't look like you, their day to day isn't like you, they're not running 10 miles to fight a 200-pound man. They're doing a totally different thing. They're learning how to run the earth. They're understanding how to operate in the scale in the world of that's filled with AI. You need to be building relationships like that. And those kind of people that show up when it's time for you to fight. Those are the kind of people that'll show up and pay for your pay-per-view. And those are the same kind of people that'll come up under you and help build you up in certain ways, in certain areas that you're weak in. And so therefore, now you built more of a brand because people come up under you that don't look like you, don't act like you, are not your creed, are not your color, and are not from the background that you are from. They bring an entirely different skill set.